Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, April 30, in Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we got Matty Robinson back in the house on this Thursday as well, ready to break it all down. 9 games tonight in the NHL, and don't look now, but 2 weeks from today, we'll be waving goodbye to the NHL regular season, as it's going to be wrapping up in just 2 weeks, and then the Stanley Cup playoffs will start right after that on the Saturday, and you can just feel it. The playoffs are right around the corner. Of course, for a lot of teams, the playoffs have already begun. Just trying to get in to the Stanley Cup playoffs. These games are like playoff games for a lot of teams in the NHL, and we certainly saw that last night with a couple of games. Playoff position battles, divisional battles taking place last night. We will start with Minnesota and the New York Rangers. I'm not sure I envisioned 9 goals between the Wild and the Rangers last night, but that's exactly what we saw, a back-and-forth affair. It was kind of an unfortunate situation for the Rangers because they were pretty much carrying the game for most of the way, but it seemed like every chance Minnesota got, they made good on it. But in the end, the Rangers get a 5-4 overtime win. I think they deserved the win. They outshot the Wild 39-24, but it was a good point for Minnesota considering they didn't play that great. They got outplayed. It's also a bad, missed opportunity not getting the second point because, again, Calgary especially still right there, and they're the team with the chance to maybe overtake Minnesota. And again, a big opportunity for the Flames tonight, who are in action against the Anaheim Ducks. But a 5-4 win for the New York Rangers in that game last night, and a big 2 points for them as they maintain a second wild card spot with the Montreal Canadiens. Carolina 5-1 over Washington. Obviously, was a tricky spot for the Capitals last night, and Carolina pretty much took it to them right away. They got the 3-0 lead early. One of my 2 best bets. We went 1-1 with the best bets. The first one hit with the first period over with Capitals and Hurricanes. It ended up 5-1 Carolina as they took control of that game. The only bright spot for Washington was Ovechkin getting a power play goal, and now just 3 goals away from that all-time record set by Wayne Gretzky. So now it's call Bettman, get Gretzky on the phone, get his itinerary in order. It's time for him to be in the building because this could happen any game now for the Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin breaking the record, no question about that. So Ovechkin got the only goal, and boy, did it get nasty in the third period. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Lots of fisticuffs, lots of scrums, lots of bad blood developing between the Capitals and the Hurricanes. And at the end, there was multiple scrums. There was a fight. Logan Stankoven, who's not known for fighting, got into it with Tom Wilson there at the end. And then, of course, the big event that happened during all those physical confrontations was obviously what happened with McMichael and Chatfield. And you don't like to see that, someone being slew foot and then slung down like that to the very dangerous situation. And you're thankful it wasn't worse than that for McMichael. But yeah, it was a dangerous moment there for sure. It got definitely rough at the end there, but Carolina gets the 5-1 win. Toronto, Florida really was a playoff game. It felt like it. It was played with playoff intensity. Both teams didn't give the other a lot of open ice in that game. It stayed under the total. And I mentioned that. I thought that would be an under game, and it was. But Toronto finds a way, 3-2, and they hang on at the end. Florida made a push, but fell short. The Leafs with the 3-2 win. I thought all their best players were really good last night. I thought Max Domi was great. I thought Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Nyes, they all had a really strong game for the Leafs. And look, it actually could have probably beaten Florida by a bigger margin if not for Sergei Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky played really well in a losing cause last night for Florida, but a great win for Toronto. They show they could beat a really good team, could hold the lead, which has always been something the years past they've had an issue with, but they've been a lot better holding leads this year. So a big 2 points. They go up 4 points on Florida now for first in the Atlantic Division with that 3-2 win. Colorado comes back to beat Chicago 3-2. They look like they're staring a regulation loss right in the face, but they get the tying goal with 10 seconds left, and then they get the win in a shootout. Very unfortunate. At the end of the day, it's a very young Hawks D, and you're asking them to defend a prolific Colorado team 6-on-5. Not easy for a very young, inexperienced blue line. And it unfortunately wastes what was a phenomenal game in between the pipes from Spencer Knight last night. He was excellent in that game. But Colorado does escape with the 2 points. Travel issues getting out of Chicago for Colorado due to thunderstorms. They could not get out of Chicago last night. They had to leave Chicago for their game tonight against Columbus this morning. We'll talk more about that when we break down that game. Obviously not ideal for the Colorado Avalanche. And let's pour one out for the Vancouver Canucks. Their season's over. What a whimper for it to go out, just a thud. And that was a team, and I saw a lot of that game because we all like the over. We're riding the 14 historical head-to-head meetings that all went over 5.5 goals between Seattle and Vancouver, and for the first time it stays under last night. I think it's one of those situations where, you look at it, 5-0 Seattle. Vancouver had nothing physically, nothing emotionally, nothing mentally left in the tank. That looked like a tired team, an exhausted team. That road trip to save their season, Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Jackets, Jets, all those games in a row. They looked like they had nothing in the tank, nothing at all last night. A tired team, and they just hit the wall. And Seattle took advantage. 5-0 win. There was just not much going right for the Canucks last night. And boy, oh boy, just a tough way to see this playoff push for them fall short, because now it's done. They're just too far back. Not enough games left. And you can and again, I'll say it one more time as if I've not thrown enough shade at this guy. Elias Pettersson takes his ball and goes home in the biggest games of the season for a little bit of a bump and a bruise and some soreness here and there. Despicable, in my opinion, considering the money he's getting. Alex, your thoughts on last night?
I thought about him at one point during that game when I'm seeing it 3-0, 4-0, and think we have the over. We need one goal at the end from fucking Vancouver, and that would be a time where
did us
normally
a solid. Pulled the goalie down 4-0.
It did,
and if Vancouver scores at 4-0 to get it to 4-1. He's pulling the goalie again, probably.
Again,
and we've got a real chance to go
it.
over 5.5. But they couldn't even do that for us last night, the Canucks. Pathetic showing. Yep.
But you think about it over the last couple of games when you see certain moments. If you're watching the Canucks and you think, oh well, this is where Pettersson maybe could have been of help. Maybe this is where Pettersson could have been of help on the offense. And it's got to be maddening for that fan base. I feel for Rich H and all the Canucks fans up there. That's to go from where you were last year, having this magical run, being one of the top teams in the West, and then have that kind of fall apart in the playoffs, and then to have this season just be up and down with all kinds of chaos and drama. It's a hell of a whirlwind turn and an unfortunate ending, like I said, for this season moving forward. But just some of the other games last night, that Hawks and Avs game, I mean, it was weird because at no point did it really feel like, okay, now it's time to run and grab Colorado like we usually do when it's Chicago with a 1 or 2 goal lead late in the game. That both teams just kind of seemed to be mirroring one another. Not necessarily that Colorado was playing down. There were times where the Hawks were just simply out skating them, and then there were times where they just weren't doing much of anything offensively, and that's the issue. You can't just be stagnant if you're Chicago in that spot, up 2-0 against a team like Colorado. You have to keep pressing. You have to play as if the game's tied 0-0, and they didn't do that. And Colorado coming back, finding a way to get that point, then get the second point in the shootout. But now put themselves in a really tough spot. Like I said, not being able to leave until this morning, another time zone. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. But certainly, like I said, Colorado is one of those teams where they can't really move up or down, and points don't really mean much. Same thing with Washington. Unless Washington really feels like they want to run and win the President's Trophy, which, of course, we know the curse behind that for most teams. They already have the Metro Division wrapped up, and that game kind of played like a team for the most part, where they just seemed to be a tad bit disinterested, not really motivated enough to get the 2 points. But then, like you said, the fisticuffs and fireworks late in that game. And it was funny. I saw where Paul Bissonnette tweets out. He says the new rivalry has emerged. So, like, there's been bad blood between these two teams for a long time. Remember a few years back where they played in the playoffs and it was Ovechkin knocking out Svechnikov in a fight in the first round. These guys go all the way back to the Southeast Division days. Where they had some rough tumble battles. So it's nice to actually see a little bit of bad blood between those two teams. But like I said, you have to tread lightly with those top tier teams in these last few games because some of them, the interest levels can wane a little bit, and you might be able to get some value on some of those dogs, or just stay away from games altogether.
Yeah, no doubt. Great points you made right there about it. You're right about Colorado. It felt like it was not going to be their night. Like they didn't look like they were moving their feet at times. It didn't look like they were fully engaged, but all it took was that 2-1 goal, and you could see after that and down the stretch that got them going. And Chicago opened the door and they went right through it, and Colorado gets the 2 points. Although that being said, Colorado's in a spot where they really can't move up, and they probably can't move down either. Because I don't think Minnesota or St. Louis have enough games left to catch them from behind. So that puts them in a dubious spot tonight on the back-to-back, especially knowing they had to leave Chicago this morning. Matt, your thoughts on last night? Did you make any bets? How did it go?
Yeah, nothing too crazy for me. I did have the first period over in that Avs-Blackhawks game, which unfortunately did not cash. I know we had a disallowed goal, and we talked about it in the chat, but typically when there's a goal that's called back, the first period over seems to never hit. It's just kind of one of those things. So didn't feel too good about it until, Chicago scores the shorthanded goal. There was still, a good minute 40 on Colorado's power play. So, instantly you're like, okay, maybe they score on this to get back for the shorthanded goal, going to the period 1-1. So unfortunate that didn't hit, but did cash the second period live over in the Leafs Florida game, and went ahead and jumped on over 3.5 as well, which obviously ended up cashing. So nice to get a couple live bets. And then, like everybody, the only other bet really I had last night was Kraken Vancouver over 5.5, just based on series history. Was following along, didn't watch too much of the game, especially once it got to 3-0, kind of losing interest. Vancouver seemed to just pack it in. But slowly watch. It's 3-0, then it's 4-0. You're like, oh, maybe we'll get there to 6, and of course Vancouver can't score a fucking goal, so that ends 5-0. So pretty light card yesterday. Knew I was going to be on the show. Knew we were going to have a betcast tonight. Knew we had a bigger, deeper card tonight. So didn't play too much yesterday, but looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. We are all looking forward to tonight. No question about that. Oh, by the way, with the Leafs second period over, we were all talking about this in our group chat last night. A lot of us got on this Leafs second period over. It was easy. And not just when it's a 0-0 game after the first period, betting the second period over, but if the full game total 3.5 is reasonable, maybe look at that too. Because it's funny how many of these games still end up getting to 4 goals at least. For the game, but especially the second period overs have been strong with the scoreless first periods. And for Toronto specifically, it's now 15-1 second period over run for them. So just file that away in the memory bank.
And we talk about how tough that disallowed goal was in the Colorado game for that first period over, but then we get the miracle cover for the third period team total over 1.5 with Colorado at plus 120 because of that goal to tie it up. So that's one of those games where it gives us, then it takes it away. So we were lucky to cash that one late with the plus money.
No doubt. That is true. No question about that. All right. Before we get into Thursday's games, we do want to remind you that it is a betcast night and it is Patreon exclusive. So make sure you join us. Patreon.com/IceGuys, $10 per month. We have our first of 3 Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up here in April before the end of the regular season. So get on board. Be there to watch the stream, to join us on camera during the stream, during the betcast if you wish to. And to do that, again, sign up at patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month, again, to get on board and be there with us for the Patreon Ice Guys exclusive live betcast tonight. Again, just $10 per month. Make sure you get on board, patreon.com/IceGuys betcast. Just a ton of fun watching the games, placing live bets, sharing conversation about the game, the sport we all love watching and betting with all our great Ice Guys family members and viewers and listeners. So make sure you get on board tonight before the betcast at patreon.com/IceGuys. All right, let's get into Thursday. We'll begin with Tampa Bay and Ottawa. We've got Tampa Bay minus 140 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Lightning on a nice little run of late. They've won 4 in a row. They've looked pretty solid in victory. They got through that, little rough road trip there, but came back home and swept the 3 games against Pittsburgh, Utah, and the Islanders. And then they beat the Islanders again, 4-1 on the road. obviously, the other night, playing like a team that wants to win the Atlantic Division for sure. The way I see it, Tampa wants to win it. Toronto wants to win it. Florida, I don't think could. I don't think Florida could. They couldn't care less about it. I think what I've heard. Even Paul Maurice said, okay, it would be nice if we win it, but it's not like the end of the world if we don't. But I think Tampa and Toronto, there's a real onus. 4 wins in a row for Tampa. 7-2 in their last 9 games. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here. The motivation is high for Tampa. Where is the motivation for Ottawa? That the concern here is that they really can't move up. They really are. Maybe Montreal or one of those teams catches them, but they're more than likely still pretty safe. At this point in time, not a whole lot in the standings could go wrong for them. They've lost 2 in a row. There's been just a little bit of a malaise in Ottawa the last 2 games when you look at the way they've played. The loss to Pittsburgh in overtime, 1-0. The loss to Buffalo at home, 5-2. We'll see how this one plays out. Now, Ottawa's played Tampa very well in this building. 5 games in Ottawa. They're 4-1 in the last 5. Tampa has won the last 2 head-to-head. I don't want to get in the way of Tampa Bay right now. And Brady Tkachuk being out means it's very difficult for me to bet Ottawa. Because I think they've lost 5 in a row without Brady Tkachuk. You go back to that time, remember Tkachuk was out, Sanderson was out, Parlay Pinto was out. They didn't win a single game without those guys. And you go back earlier in the year when Brady was out, they didn't win a lot either. He is that big of a deal. He's the emotional heartbeat of the team. He's the leader of the team. And it's almost like when the general is not out there to lead, the troops don't follow. And we've saw it again against Buffalo. No Tkachuk, no win for the Ottawa Senators. So I actually did bet Tampa here. I don't bet Tampa on the road a lot, but I took them here, -130. But what I like even more is the over by Fecta. 6 straight overs first period for Tampa Bay. 5 straight overs in Ottawa between these two teams. Lightning versus Senators. The last 5 games in Ottawa, look at the total goals. 9, 10, 7, 11, 9. Tons of goals in the games in Ottawa. So hopefully that happens again. Even though it is Allmark and Vasilevsky, you're getting the best goalie on either side in this game tonight. I still like the over by Fecta here. Alex, what do you think? Lightning, Senators.
Yeah, so I am on the over by Fecta as well. You can get -122 on both 1.5 for the first period and over 5.5 for the full game at FanDuel. And I'm going chalk and draw parlay, or not parlay, but just chalk and draw rather than dog and draw split. -140, I think, is a fair price here for Tampa Bay. Like I said, Ottawa has played Tampa well at home. So +333, it's worth sprinkling on the draw, but I like Tampa in this spot, and I think 140 is reasonable. Like I said, not really in the business of laying 135, 140, 145 throughout the year, but at this time of the year in a spot, like I said, Tampa Bay is playing for the division, which I love to hear that as somebody who's holding a Tampa to win the Atlantic ticket from early in the year. But like I said, this seems to be a spot where it's certainly no Tkachuk for Ottawa as well. Like I said, it's a different team. We talk about guys who, are the heart and soul of a team, and when they're missing from the lineup, that team looks completely different. That certainly fills the role of Brady Tkachuk with Ottawa. So give me Tampa here, give me the first period and full game overs, and then give me a little sprinkle on the draw, +333 at BetMGM.
Yeah, I think the draw might be worth a look. There's some draws I like on this. Actually, it's not a huge draw card for me tonight. There's a couple draws I like.
Me either.
But you're right. It's just one of those nights where the draw is not as prevalent, not as many games checked all the boxes as far as draw potential is concerned tonight. But yeah, there are a lot of props. Hedman, point. I mean, there's a bunch of players on point streaks. Gensel, a 3-game goal streak actually for Gensel, but 4-game point streak for Gensel, 4-game point streak for Braden Point, 4-game point streak for Nikita Kucherov, 3-game point streak for Victor Hedman. They're all worth a look. For sure. Jake Sanderson, and by the way, about Jake Sanderson and Victor Hedman, they both scored the last game for their respective teams. They're shooting the puck a lot. So don't be scared maybe to sprinkle goal props on Hedman for the Lightning, Sanderson for the Senators. They have both been shooting the puck quite a bit. And we have to go to Nick Paul. We have to. I mean, my goodness. He's going back to Ottawa, former member of the Senators, and he scored in the last game for Tampa Bay against the New York Islanders. So, yeah, Nick Paul is he's one of my favorites. He's a go-to, all reliable, as I like to call him. Tonight's the night to go back and visit all reliable for sure. Nick Paul, as far as a goal prop.
Would this be the time now to look at as we get to the last, handful of games of the season, looking at where guys are as far as their stats going. For example, Jake Gensel at 38 goals right now, 2 away from 40. Would this now be the time to maybe zero in on some of those guys who could be at some of those milestone kind of marker spots?
We're close. That's something I look at more in the final week of the regular
Okay.
season. So as we
Yeah.
get like when we're down to those handful of games, 3, 4,
Like
5
games left. Yeah.
Exactly. And you see players that are 2 or 3 points or goals away from certain milestone numbers. That's when we really get interested in targeting props involving milestone players. But that is going to be a big part of the player props discussion on this show starting next week. There's no doubt. So milestones, players going for and we're talking about milestones like 50 points or 50 goals or 60 goals, like the round numbers, 75 points or goals, 90 points, 90 goal. Well, no 90 goals, but 90 points. Those kind of like 100 points. If we get players that are closing in on that 2-3 games left in the season, they're going to push for it. Who wants 99 points when you can have a 100-point season? You know what I mean? You want to get there when you're that close. So yeah, the
there's a lot of
player
guys.
prop targets are going to be big in the final week for me. Yep.
And there's a lot of guys who have, they have incentives in their contracts if they hit
Yep.
certain milestones, markers as well. So there'll be reason to back that for sure.
No doubt. That exactly. And Jonathan's talking about it right now. The player bonuses, hitting a certain plateau in your stats that triggers the bonus that gets paid to you if you reach.
I wish it was public
Yeah.
knowledge like the NFL though. That's the thing. It's hard to find out who has that in their
Yes.
contracts.
No doubt. But if we have information on that, those are going to be great player prop targets as well, those remaining few games of the regular season. All right, Matt, what do you think here? Tampa Bay, Ottawa.
Not too much to add. I'm going to be on the bifecta. Love the first period over, especially, and I'm seeing the full game over at 5.5 on some books. So, it might be a good opportunity for a same game parlay, given that it's already a 5.5. So, first period and full game, you should get a nice like plus 130, plus 140 on an app like MGM. So, just like goals in this one, that's pretty much it for me on this one.
All right, Boston and Montreal. The old rivalry renewed. Montreal minus 200, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. So Boston is pretty bad. It's very difficult to back this team. That's all very true. No question about that. However, for as bad as they are, for one night, I could see Boston really wanting to win this game, to at least play some spoiler, some kind of spoiler to Montreal and try to, negatively impact their chances at making the playoffs. Now, are they good enough to be able to do that? That ends up being the big question here going into this game, because obviously Boston has just been awful. 1-9 in their last 10 games, 9-game losing streak entering tonight. Just been off. Now, I will say this about the Washington game off that road trip. They were better in that game. The effort was pretty good, actually, against Washington from Boston. They competed hard. They got down 2-0. They came back and they tied it. They got down 4-2. Pasternak got it to within 1, and they really pushed to tie it and came close. But Washington was able to hang on and get the 4-3 win there against Boston the other night. It was definitely a better effort. And I do think you're going to get a good effort from Boston. Again, whether it's good enough is the question. You also have to factor in that while, for me, it's with Montreal, it's either I bet on them or pass. I'm passing at least pregame on betting Montreal tonight just because of the price. You still have to factor in Boston has dominated this team. Now, these were the Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, Brandon Carlo Bruins before all the trades were made. But Boston is 9-1 in the last 10 meetings against Montreal. Like, they have absolutely dominated the Habs. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. It's why I'm not rushing to lay minus 200 here with Montreal. For as good as they're playing, the back-to-back wins against Florida, the incredible comeback, 3-2 at home in overtime with Suzuki and Hudson spearheading that comeback, just outstanding. Lane Hudson's been phenomenal. I think it's a wrap with the Calder, quite honestly. I think he's going to win it. He should win it, especially if they make the playoffs. Lane Hudson's been great. I mean, 60 fucking assists. What more do you want? The guy's been absolutely amazing here for the Montreal Canadiens this year. So I think Montreal still probably does get the win, but I'm just leery at this price. The good news is we have a betcast, and that means we don't have to bet at pregame. We can target Montreal team total at a better price, and I've got Montreal circled for a 3.5 at a cheaper price during the betcast. Or maybe get even 2.5 if maybe they're kept under wraps early in the game, if it falls that low. And same thing with money line. If Boston gets the first goal, then we'll jump in on Montreal because we know they can come back and they don't quit. We saw that against Florida. So if Boston gets the lead, we target Montreal on the betcast tonight for a live bet. The only thing pregame I got is another over by Fecta, but I especially like the first period over. I mean, how can you not with Montreal? It's 9 straight first period overs for Montreal, 11-1 to the first period over in the last 12 Montreal games. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've been on these Montreal first period overs. They've been cashing in like hot cakes. There's no question about that. So first period over, 1.5, full game over, 5.5. And the reason I'm on the full game too is because if you actually look at Bruins versus Habs, 6-3, 6-4, 9-4, 5-2 were the scores in 3 and 4 of the last 5 games. So it actually has been a full game over trending series between these two teams. So over by Fecta pregame. We'll find maybe better prices, better numbers in game on the betcast tonight with Montreal. Alex, what do you think here? Bruins, Habs.
So this is an over trifecta game, but the way I'm betting it is first period over, a little bit small pregame, minus $1.15 at MGM, and of course I'll be adding more on the betcast when we cross over to plus money. I also have both teams to score plus 174. The over 5.5, I will be waiting for that plus money in game. So a couple of minutes into the contest, I'll be looking to bet that, but we'll have a little piece of that first period over and both teams to score in the first pregame. And I would tread very lightly. Like I said, look for Montreal live. I would tread very lightly here with Boston. Just off of the fact that, like I said, this has been a heavy Boston series, but that team is pretty much, kind of split apart now. This is maybe the changing of the tide. We've seen this with rivalry series before. I think about Hawks Red Wings back in the day. I think about Sharks and Kings, how that series kind of flipped for a while, where you have a team that dominates and it's very one-sided, then all of a sudden the team that's been getting beat up, little brother, starts to get a little stronger. So this wouldn't shock me one bit if Montreal, maybe they go down a little bit. We grab them at plus price, hopefully, and they could easily run back and win this game. So this would be a fun one for the betcast tonight.
It is. You think Boston, who wants to watch them? They will play hard tonight. Again, whether they win is another story, but I think you'll get a good effort from them because they'd love to spoil a rival's playoff chances. So I think you'll get that. The question is going to be, are they good enough? And Montreal knows too. Hey, I think Marty St. Louis and the Habs will be aware of the fact they're 1-9 in the last 10 meetings against Boston. That hey, this is our chance here. Let's make a statement and say that those days are over. Changing of the guard. Bruins have been the better team over us for years now. Now it's time for our turn to show we're finally the better team. So we'll see if Montreal comes out with that purpose. That being said, as you mentioned, with the betcast tonight, why bet them pregame? We can wait for something better live during the betcast tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Bruins, Habs.
Yeah, I honestly like Montreal pregame team total. I don't think minus 200 is worth it. I know series history leans Boston. Boston is a bit of a different team. I just think given how the Bell Center was the other night, because this is in Montreal, I think they can rally and score 4 goals. I'll be light on it pregame. Like you mentioned, if it's 1-0 Boston, 15 minutes into the game, Montreal over 2.5 might have a good price, and then you can double down on it. So it's not going to be a big bet or anything. I just think for a team that's fighting to make the playoffs, a team that's already out of it, Montreal, to ask them to score 4 goals at home when that Bell Center's been rocking lately, isn't a huge ask against a team like Boston that I think they're sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. So, pregame, just Montreal team total over 3.5.
There you go. Yeah, that's the only thing to bet Montreal. If you want to bet anything Montreal pregame, it's the team totals. You can go over 3.5 full game. Or Jonathan's interested in over 1.5 first period team total with Montreal. If that is definitely the case. If you're going to bet anything pregame, the totals are probably where the value is. Yeah, Lane Hudson assist, believe it or not, minus 135 is still cheap. Considering that this guy has been an assist machine, there's no doubt about that. 6 of the last 10, 4 of the last 5 with an assist. 4-game point streak for Morgan Geekie. He's about the only player I would bet other than Pasternak maybe for props right now with Boston. Lane Hudson, 2-game point streak. Slavkovsky, 2-game point streak. for the Montreal Canadiens as well. Nick Suzuki, 2-game goal streak, and of course had the 2-goal heroic effort to come back and beat Florida the other night as well. All right, Colorado and Columbus. Avalanche minus 140, road favorites, 6.5 the total. Shaded to the under. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'll mention it again. They didn't leave Chicago, the Colorado Avalanche, after beating the Blackhawks last night till this morning. And apparently they did not arrive Columbus at the airport till noon Eastern time today. So you talk about just throwing on. And look, players are creatures of habit. And in a game day, there's a certain routine and rhythm they all go through. When you throw that off, it's not a good thing. It's not. So you wonder what this is going to mean for Colorado tonight. It's a brutal spot. Brutal as it is to play a very late game, because they started that game last night for TNT purposes at 8:30 local time in Chicago, so they could have a doubleheader out of it. And then it was a very late finish because it went to a shootout. They can't even leave Chicago. They fly to Columbus today. Brutal spot. And there's not even a whole lot at stake for Colorado. They can't move up and catch Dallas for second in the Central. They can't move down. Minnesota, St. Louis don't have enough games left to catch them. So they're kind of locked into third in the Central. This just feels like a spot where Columbus is just the ultimately much more amped up, much more motivated hockey team tonight, and a sluggish, downtrodden, exhausted spot for the Avs, given the situation. A late game last night and then back-to-back here, and not even getting to Columbus until this morning, the day of the game. So I'm taking several different positions here with the Jackets. We're going to go first period money line, full game money line, team total over 3 for the full game on the Jackets. That's 3 different Jackets bets right there. First period money line, first period full game money line, and also going to take the full game team total. I might even dabble in the over 1s and 1.5 first period team total. I haven't bet those yet, which is why I didn't mention them, but I think I might. Because I think this is a pounce on Colorado early and ride it out to victory here in this game. I'm also on first. I'm not done yet with this game. First period over, which is starting to heat up again for Columbus. What is it, 5 or 6 in a row? Over 1.5 in the first period for the Jackets. They're on a consecutive game first period over streak. Full game over as well here for me. But I like the Columbus looks more than anything else. I think it's just a really tough ask for the Colorado Avalanche in a game where, look, this is just a game that on paper it means more to Columbus. They're playing for their playoff lives. We know they've been better at home at Nationwide Arena all season long. So I think it's just a really great spot for Columbus and a really tough one, brutal one, in fact, for It was already bad had they been able to leave Chicago last night. But then they get grounded because of the storms. They can't leave till this morning, and it just got a whole lot worse. Alex, what do you think here, Colorado, Columbus?
Yeah, like I said, this really tough spot and really tough. Like I said, having a late night, long game, traveling today, and like I said, your second leg of a back-to-back where it doesn't mean anything to you and it means everything to your opponent at home. Definitely had to run and grab Columbus. I got plus 122 earlier today. So anything with a plus price on it as far as Columbus money line goes, I think it's worth a bet. I didn't go heavy with team totals or first period. I did take a shot, however, with I'm looking at both teams to score third period plus 120. Now that's predicated more on we believe that Colorado could have their legs completely fall off from under them late in the game. And get Columbus score, but you can't get any value on Columbus team total in the third period. So we'll obviously be adding more things on throughout the betcast, but that is something I did grab a little bit pregame. Plus 120 with the third period, both teams to score at FanDuel, along with plus 122 Columbus money line.
All right, there we go. Matt, what do you think here, Colorado, Columbus?
Yeah, pregame, just Columbus money line in the first period over. I do like the team total. I'd probably buy up to over 3.5. I see it's listed at over 2.5 as the regular line, like minus 150. I think if you're going to jump on that pregame, I would take over 3.5. But I may wait and see kind of what the pace is here. Maybe you get right around even money at over 2.5, and then, it's sort of a slam dunk for me. So, but yeah, pregame, just keeping it simple. Columbus money line in the first period over. I like a lot as well.
Yeah, because we've got point streaks right now for Werenski 3 in a row, Marchenko 3 in a row, and the captain Boone Jenner for 5 in a row. with a point for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the Jenner one is cheap, -105 for him to get a point. Marchenko's on a 4-game goal streak. I actually even like Cale Makar maybe to score tonight for Colorado because he's scored in back-to-back games. You get a pretty good price. And you know what's crazy is Dante Fabro for Columbus has scored in back-to-back games, and you're getting 11-1. So talk about going deep into the waters there. Might be worth a look there as far as props are concerned for this game. You know, Lehkonen is with McKinnon and Natchez. I always think, you know, whoever's with McKinnon on that left wing side's worth a look. Big Val, Nichushkin, Nelson. We'll have to see if Drouin plays tonight because he left yesterday's game against Chicago due to injury and did not return. So we'll have to wait and see if Jonathan Drouin is going to be in the lineup here tonight for Colorado. And, you know, the fact the game does not mean a whole lot. They could, I have a feeling they're going to take it, you know, easy, you know, cautious approach, you know, for Colorado with Drouin. So I wouldn't be shocked if he does not play here tonight in this one when it's all said and done. All right, next up, we've got Pittsburgh and St. Louis. The Blues -230, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. 10-game win streak for the Blues, and not easy against Detroit. Cam Talbot was really good. St. Louis was heavily outplaying Detroit. They had to stay patient, just keep plugging away, just play your game. Eventually, you're going to get a breakthrough and find one, and they did in the dying seconds to tie it, and then the 2-on-1 rush with Cam Fowler's brilliant backhander past Talbot to win it in overtime, 2-1, 10 straight wins for St. Louis. What a run it's been to get them in a spot now where, you know, the playoffs, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to clinching a playoff spot. Pittsburgh, meanwhile, coming off a 1-0 overtime win. You don't see those very often against Ottawa on Sunday. Tristan Jarry, after some rough games, comes back and plays well in that game, obviously, against the Ottawa Senators. We'll see if he can play well again. He's always one of these goalies that when he's coming off an absolutely phenomenal game, it's not always the easiest to trust him the very next game. Like I said, I made good money with St. Louis during this run. I stayed off them against Detroit, and even though they won, you know, you wouldn't have cashed team total. You wouldn't have cashed regulation. You would have cashed money line, but it was a very expensive price. But same thing with this one. Obviously, they're very capable of winning. They're a better team than Pittsburgh, but Jarry does have good numbers against St. Louis. I know Jonathan mentioned that to us earlier. That's number one. And number two is the price just isn't great, -230. So this is one where it's a bet cast game. I did grab a small piece of the over here, 5.5 in this game, but that's about it. Sidewise, we'll get St. Louis. If the St. Louis is trailing, I'll be on St. Louis during the bet cast at some point. But like I said, pregame, not at this price. And we did see signs of them after the big Colorado win against Detroit. Even though they carried the play, you know, it was a grind of a game for them. And I could see this, you know, being kind of a grind of a game for them. Now, I also could see them putting up 6 goals because Pittsburgh's defense and Jarry could just, you know, be terrible. And it's because they've been that way a lot this year. But I just get the gut feel this is going to be like the Detroit game. The Blues may have to grind their way to a victory here tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Pittsburgh, St. Louis. Hofer, by the way, in net for the Blues.
Yeah, this is a game we're definitely just wait and see and jump in on the back cast. Like I said, we made a ton of money with St. Louis on this run. I took it on the chin with the team total over in that last game against Detroit. So this is one where, like I said, you know, looking at Jarry's numbers, 7-1 with exactly 2 goals against 926 save percentage and a shutout in 8 starts. Those are some pretty solid numbers. So this is one where, like I said, we have the bet cast at our disposal. So anything side totals, I lean the over at a 5.5. We can, you know, wait for plus money with that. But good bet cast game for sure.
I'm going to be the old school arbitrage better in this game. You know what I am going to do? I'm going to take a small piece of Pittsburgh pregame, +190, +200. Just for the purposes of if we get St. Louis at plus money during the bet cast, we're going to lock in profit. That's exactly what I'm going to. I feel this could be one of those games. Pittsburgh gets the lead, and then if they do, we're going to get plus money on St. Louis, and then we'll take that and we'll lock in profit. And at that point, I can just kick back, relax, and watch a hockey game at that point. Doesn't matter who wins, we're going to profit, Pittsburgh or St. Louis. That's going to be the approach for me. Just for that reason, Pittsburgh +200. I'll put some of that in the pocket now, and then hopefully we get St. Louis at plus money during the game. And if we do, we're going to be able to lock in profit on this game with plus money on both sides. I think that's a decent approach for this game. What do you think here, Matt? Penguins, Blues.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good angle. Personally, I think it's probably a pass game until the betcast. Um, you know, do I think at first hand St. Louis wins this game? More than likely, sure. Minus 230. No, thank you.
Yep.
But you know, teams on these big runs, they eventually do drop a game. Do I think St. Louis is going to win out until the playoffs start? Probably not. They're probably going to drop a game or two between now and April 19th. So could this be a spot they lose? Again, I don't lean that way, but I think you make a great point. Pittsburgh plus 190. Let's say they're up, 2-1 at the end of the first. You get a plus price on St. Louis, something like that. It could be worth a look. I think because the Penguins have guys like Crosby, they're not a full just pack it in, mail it in, season's over type team. They've they've got pride. They want to, continue to play well. There's young guys fighting for contracts for next season that want to play at the NHL level. So, yeah, I could make a case for Pittsburgh pregame. To your point, Ian, but I think honestly for me with a 9-card game and a bet cast night, it's probably a live bet if anything for me on this one.
Yeah, as far as props, Holloway is Holloway. We've always talked about Dylan Holloway, of course, playing with Shannon Kyrou, worth a look here. I like the Bull Duke line. I'm with Jonathan on Jimmy Snuggerud. He's probably worth a shot, but Bull Duke again, he's been solid. Crosby's on a 10-game point streak. I mean, what they would do without him, I have no idea. 10-game point streak, 2-game goal streak. They've got obviously Brian Rust with him, but guess who Mike Sullivan might have with that Penguins top line tonight? Rutger McGroarty, of course, a guy that was a pretty good college player. Now, he has not really been all that noticeable when he's gotten the opportunity at the NHL level. But Crosby can make a broomstick look good, alongside him on that top line. And if McGroarty is going to get that shot with Crosby and Brian Rust on the top line, and the current line combos indicate that, he's worth a shot at the price you're going to get on Rutger McGroarty here tonight. Man, this guy does have talent. He was a very good college player. Let's not forget. So, yeah, I think Rutger McGroarty, if he plays with Crosby, as it looks like is going to be the case as of now, it's definitely worth a shot. Even Bailey brings up a decent longer shot. Nola Chari, not a big goal scorer, but a guy that used to be in St. Louis with the Blues. It's the former player angle. So, don't really mind maybe looking in that direction either as far as a goal prop here in this one. For Pittsburgh as he goes back to St. Louis. All right, next up we've got Nashville and Dallas. The Dallas Stars upwards of almost minus 300 here in this game, and the total 6 across the board. Now, this is called betting for a reason, because any person that goes into this game is going to clearly think the first thing that happens is Dallas is going to beat the shit out of this team. That's obviously the first thing you're going to think. It's got to happen, right? Dallas is rolling. Nashville's terrible. We just saw them lose to Philly and only score 1 goal. We just saw them get, absolutely crushed by Columbus 8-4 the other night. And they're an awful hockey team. And Dallas is rolling. But I also remember a certain homestand the Dallas Stars were on recently. And they escape Anaheim. And they escape Philadelphia with overtime wins. And they just grind their way through them with wins that were less than inspiring, less than impressive, in my opinion. Do they get? Are we back to that Dallas here? Because that last homestand against the lesser lights, I mean, they had to battle their way to win some of those games. Philly, Anaheim, you go on down the list, and it kind of feels like it could be that kind of spot for them here against Nashville after a great road trip where they go to Calgary and they win. They go to Edmonton and they win. And they, of course, beat Seattle back-to-back on the road to end that road trip. And I was talking with Jimmy the Bag. By the way, announcement, Jimmy the Bag, who I do the Thursday show with, Betting with the Bag, he's going to be on this show Sunday at noon Eastern. We're looking forward to that. So long overdue to have Jimmy on the show as a guest here on the Ice Guys. Sunday, he'll be on with us at noon Eastern. Looking forward to that. But I was talking with him on my Thursday show there with him this morning. People are really getting on Dallas's case for the fact that they're getting outshot in every game. They're getting outchanced in every game. They've had to rely a little too much on their goaltenders, and it's like this is not sustainable. This is not the way you're going to win. come Stanley Cup playoff time. But I also pointed out, well, maybe this team can win that way. Like, is it the end of the world if you get outshot 38-25, like what's happened with Dallas the last few games, if you're still getting the win and you're still getting the 2 points? I mean, that's what matters at the end of the day. Do you win the fucking hockey game? That's what matters. And Dallas is still winning games. Now, I'd like to see them rely on Ottinger less, rely on Casey DeSmith less, because they have been peppered with shots these last few games. But you have to remember, Dallas, while they're getting outchanced, outshot, and all this, even in the wins on that road trip, they don't need a lot of shots and chances to score. That's just the gift they have as a team offensively this year, because they got 4 lines that can all get it done and are all a threat to find the back of the net on any given shift. So they could be outshot 40-24 and beat you 4-2. They can be outshot 41-30 or 41-22 and beat you 4-1, 5-3. That's what they can do, because they are just it's every line is a threat to get you. Every line right now with Dallas. And so it's that dilemma. Would you love to see them not get outshot every game like they have recently? Of course. But are they winning games? Are they finding ways to win? Yes. Are they getting 2 points? Yes. Are they converting on the chances that they're getting, Dallas? Yes. Is the goaltending great right now? Yes. Ottinger's had a great run his last few starts after a bit of, not a struggle like he's been bad, but he was just a little less than great. He's been better the last few starts. DeSmith, what can we say? He's been phenomenal. DeSmith single-handedly stole the 2 points against Calgary last week. I still remember that game. He was absolutely phenomenal. They got great goaltending. And yes, they get outshot a little bit, but they find ways to win because they don't need many chances themselves, Dallas, to score. So I'm okay with where they're at. I'm okay. It could always be better. I'm sure Pete DeBoer agrees with me. They could always play a little bit better than they have, but they're getting wins right now. They're getting results, and that's all that matters. And all these wins have led Dallas to a spot where they're now just 4 points back of Winnipeg for first in the Central, and they still have to play Winnipeg head-to-head. There is still a chance they could win this division. So, yes, in theory, Dallas should show up here big. And yes, in theory, they're capable of winning. And yes, in theory, they should smoke Nashville. Who trusts Nashville right now? But I've also seen Dallas, the recent homestand, barely escape Philly, barely escape Anaheim, not play their best hockey. Nashville's won 3 straight, by the way, in Dallas. Don't ask me why or how, but they have. And all of that is enough to keep me off this game. So that's a lot of fucking talking for me to say I passed this game pregame. Not really much involved with this. Maybe on the betcast, we'll get involved with it a little bit. Alex, what do you think here? Predators, Stars.
Yeah, the only thing I'm taking a shot with pregame is the draw at FanDuel because it's plus 410. And that's just a crazy price to have on a draw when you're talking about a Dallas team that has let some weaker teams in Nashville hang around the games. So it just off of principle and price, I have to bet that plus 410. That's at FanDuel on the draw. Everything else I can wait for pregame. Like I said, this could be a spot where, yeah, should Dallas win this game 7-1? Absolutely. But like I said, we've seen at times this year, and this is just that time of year where you have teams that are in the playoffs. Like I said, you have to be careful with these teams that, yes, they're already in playoff position. Sure, they're in division races and battles, but they can get caught up by a team. And we've seen teams, and like I said, this minus 300, minus 400 range fall. So there's no reason to rush and jump in on anything when we have a bet cast tonight. But I will grab that plus 410 with the draw. I don't expect that to pop up again, even if it is we see goals back and forth in this contest.
And it's been a road series. The road teams won 6 straight. Dallas won every recent game in Nashville, and Nashville's won every recent game in Dallas. So, yeah, I got the bees in the old stomach here thinking about taking Dallas in this game. We'll see what Matt says. Matt, what do you think here? Nashville, Dallas.
Yeah, I think you both make great points. I don't think this is a slam dunk Dallas spot. I don't think I don't think anyone is laying minus 300 on Dallas just to win this game. Should they win this game? Absolutely. They're back at home. They're playing a very inferior, defeated Nashville team that lost 8-3 the other night. They get an extra day of rest. They got a full practice in yesterday. But, it is the NHL. So I'm not rushing to bet Dallas. I do agree with Alex. Should they win 7-1? Yes. Will they win 7-1? Likely not. I think if anything, sides and totals wise, I would make a case for Dallas team total alternate 4.5. If you think that this game is going to go how it should on paper, take that. You'll get a nice plus price, for them to get to 5 goals tonight. I don't know that I'm going to be on anything pregame from a sides totals perspective. I do like a couple props in this game, one of which I'll mention later. Again, I think this is a Dallas spot. I think, I was breaking it down to you with the Winnipeg situation. They've got a game in hand. If they win that game in hand in regulation, they have the tiebreaker on Winnipeg for game in hand regulation. Obviously, they're going to have to beat Winnipeg on April 10th in Dallas if they want to take over that top spot. But basically, they need to win out in regulation to give themselves a lock. If they win out in regulation, they get the top seed in the West. That's a big ask with 6-7 games left in the season. But that they know that is the only way to guarantee their spot as the top seed. So that's the only thing that would pull me away from the draw I mentioned to Ian until they either lose or play Winnipeg and we see how that game goes. I don't like the draw in Dallas because they need to win in regulation.
They want the
They need to get
regulation
above that
wins,
tiebreaker.
Yep.
If it's at plus 410, I totally understand taking the bet, no doubt. But yeah, so I like Dallas. I think they get it done at home. I think they're rolling. I think that Seattle game on Monday was a little better. I think the shots were like 35-31 in that 3-1 win. So they were getting a little more offensive pressure, not relying on just tic-tac-toe goals and winning 5-1 and getting outshot, 2-1. So it was a little step in the right direction. I think they need to clean up a little bit on taking a lot of penalties. But I think if they get it out to a lead tonight, it could be one of those games where they kind of just cruise, 5-1 type of game. Kind of go back and forth on the totals because if Dallas jumps out to an early lead, I could see it being a 4-0 game. I don't see Nashville, at this point really fighting for much. So, they could kind of shut things down. So I don't love the totals here. But as I mentioned, a couple of props that I might mention a little bit later.
Yeah, I'll mention there are a few props that I bet for this game. More prop game, at least pregame, than anything else. You have to bet Wyatt Johnston. You do for anything with him right now. 5 straight games with a point, 5 straight games with a goal. He's been phenomenal. We know he's when he gets on a heater, look out. It keeps going for a while, and that's what we've seen with him, no doubt. Michael Bunting might be worth a look for Nashville because he's actually started to heat up just a little bit for them. But points props. But Mason Marchment 3 games in a row with a point. Michael Granlund 3 games in a row with a point. Matty Duchene 3 games in a row with a point for Dallas as well. So goal assist props on any of those guys worth a look here in this game as well. One thing I noticed too with Nashville is defensemen have been scoring on Nashville. So this could be a decent night for Thomas Harley, maybe to be involved. A goal or assist with him as well in this game might be something to consider. And like I said, for Nashville, O'Reilly, there's some good thoughts from Jonathan that he's had success here in this matchup, but O'Reilly might be worth a look for them. So there's a couple props there for me in that Nashville-Dallas game. All right, Los Angeles and Utah. We got the Kings minus 130 road favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. When you look at this matchup, LA and Utah, I lean to the draw just a little bit, but nothing other than that. And this is not even my favorite draw. We'll get to that very soon. LA on the road, I get the heebie-jeebies. Laying a price with them on the road, even against a team like they're better than Utah, of course. But do we really fully trust the Kings on the road laying a price? Utah's playing hard. Vejmelka was great against Calgary the other night. And yes, Vejmelka's making his 1,000th start in a row tonight. Not a shocker anymore. We've talked about that. That being said, look, Andre Tourigny kind of shut me up the other night. Here we are bitching about how many starts in a row he's made. He's the reason they beat Calgary the other night. He was phenomenal. So maybe he's got a second wind here, even with all these starts in a row. So, yeah, I don't want to lay minus 130 here with LA. Maybe a small interest in the draw. That's about it. This could be an under, too. Vejmelka has obviously played well against Calgary the last game. Maybe he plays well. And we know the LA offense can disappear at times on the road. So maybe a lean to the under here as well. See, Alex, what do you think here? LA, Utah.
This is big card, big slate. Betcast night. This one might be a pass for me unless we find something that pops up during the night. Like I said, this is a spot where feels like it could be an under, but with Mamelka, like you said, making his millionth start, is this the night that he finally gives way and all of a sudden he gives up 5 goals early, gets pulled? I don't know. So it's definitely a definite wait and see. Maybe take a shot with goal first 5 minutes. Maybe that'd be the only thing I looked at bet pregame.
Yeah, no doubt. That's worth a look. I like Kuzmenko tonight, prop-wise, in this game for LA. Kuzmenko's really starting to get it rolling, heating up, percolating. You got to give Hiller credit. Putting him with Kopitar and Kempe has made a difference. He's now gotten a point in 2 straight games, scored a goal in 2 straight games as well for the LA Kings. Trevor Moore has scored in 2 straight games, so maybe you ride the wave with the California kid, Trevor Moore, who's tallied in back-to-back games, as has Adrian Kempe. For the LA Kings. And like I said, so is Kuzmenko. Dylan Gunther has scored, or at least as a point, I should say, in 2 straight games. Kopitar, Keller, Cooley on 2-game point streaks as well entering tonight. Matt, what do you think here? LA, Utah.
Yeah, I'd probably lean LA. As Alex mentioned, I think we've got a big enough card that I don't think I'll have it pregame. I think Utah kind of fizzles out the rest of the season. You may get some good prop value out of some young guys, some guys like Josh Doan that, are trying to make sure that they're on Utah come next fall, kind of solidify their spot in the NHL. So you could see some good props out of a team like Utah. I just think LA, they're fighting to stay in that position. And that second seed in the Pacific, they want home ice against Edmonton. So I think LA gets it done. Not running to bet it, but if, the night's going well, I may look at some angles of this game live on the betcast.
These are games where LA is the better team, but maybe they're sluggish early, and we know they've been hit or miss on the road, and that's a good find by Jonathan. Yeah, Kyler Yamamoto apparently with good success against, regardless of who starts for LA, Kemper and Riddick. Yamamoto has scored against either one, but I do want to mention, too, that's a good one, too. Barrett Hayton against Kemper has had success. These games where we know the one team's better than the other, that's why it's great to have a betcast night. You can always jump in at a plus price with LA during the game. And then, if it loses, okay, you don't want it to, but at least you don't lose any juice. You don't lose, laying a price, when you're taking something at plus money. And that's definitely the thing to keep in mind. So it's definitely good to have that in the back of your mind when you got a betcast night like tonight. All right, Anaheim, Calgary. Calgary minus 160 home favorites. 6 the total here, shaded to the under in this game. The Flames are still very much alive. The Flames are still burning bright here for this Calgary team. I don't know, bright, but they're alive anyway. The Flames are alive, at least still in the playoff race. They currently have 82 points. They are 7 points back of both Minnesota and St. Louis, but they have 2 games in hand on both of them. To be quite honest with you, there's a better chance probably they catch Minnesota than St. Louis right now, but obviously not much margin for error. You got to keep winning. Simple as that if you're Calgary. This kind of feels like Vancouver last night, where if Calgary does lose this game in regulation, it's almost over except the crying for the Calgary Flames. That's where they're at right now. They simply have to get 2 points here in this game. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy for them because, this Anaheim Ducks team, the quack, they've been plucky. They've been feisty of late. They've won 3 of their last 4 of their last 6. They beat San Jose in a shootout, but they gave Toronto a tough game. They beat the Rangers in overtime. They crushed Boston 6-2. They did lose to Carolina 5-2, but they beat Nashville 4-1. They took Dallas to overtime. They've been a very competitive group, and this young group is playing carefree hockey, playing with no pressure. And you see the talent that this group is going to have long term with Leo Carlson, Troy Terry, McTavish, who had a big multi-point game. The other Jackson Kookie, Lenmy Lacombe, Jackson Lacombe, Zegras. Go on down the list. This team is playing loose, playing really solid, and right now that dangerous combination here for Calgary. Now Calgary has owned this series 8-2 in the last 10 versus Anaheim. They've also won 6 of the last 7. It's one of these deals where Calgary, this is like a Game 7 effort they need tonight. They need it in the worst way, but I don't want to lay minus 160 with them. We've got Hungry Like the Wolf, no surprise. Dustin Wolf in net for Calgary. John Gibson is projected right now for Anaheim, but it has not been confirmed as of yet. The only bet here for me pregame is the draw. And this is the draw that I like the absolute most on this card tonight. 100%. I think it's a great draw candidate. Calgary's gone past regulation in 4 of their last 6 games. Anaheim's gone past regulation 2 of their last 3 and 3 of their last 7. Not to mention back in January, these two teams went to overtime head-to-head. So I like this draw. I think this is one of those games for Cal. And again, if Calgary needs overtime or a shootout to win it, so be it. They need 2 points regardless of how they get it. So the draw for me pregame. And Jonathan's got a decent look here with Anaheim team total, that if you like Anaheim, take the team total. Because they have been scoring lately. I still don't know about their D and their goaltending night tonight, but they have done a nice job lately scoring 3 goals. They scored 3 against San Jose, 5 against the Rangers, 6 against Boston, 4 against Nashville, 3 against Dallas. So, again, their offense has been prevalent in recent games. Alex, what do you think here? Anaheim, Calgary.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that draw. I was looking for the best price, plus 340 at BetMGM as the best price available. I'm seeing a lot of 320s and 325s floating around. But like I said, Calgary, they need all the points they can get. If they can win in regulation, it would be ideal for them. But it would not shock me one bit. Like I said, Anaheim's been playing feisty. And like I said, this has been two teams. And it's funny, I talked about it earlier in the show about how you have teams where series history kind of flip-flops over time. You remember back in the days when Anaheim and Calgary, they both were good teams. Anaheim just dominated for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden we see what Calgary has kind of changed to turn the tides in this series. So definitely going with that draw plus 340. But this is a humongous game for Calgary. They need to win, like I said, to save their playoff lives.
Yeah. So I think this is definitely a live draw spot for sure. I agree with you there. And then there's a lot of props in this game that are actually worth a look. I don't know how many goals I could see it being an under, but still, kooky. Lenmy Lacombe, Jackson Lacombe, 6 straight games with a point for him, which is impressive. He scored the last game as well for the Anaheim Ducks. Zegras is on a 3-game point streak. McTavish, what a night he had. He's probably worth a shot here. Leo Carlson's heated up lately for the Anaheim Ducks as well. So there's a lot of good candidates here. I think it's a Naz Kadri night too. I think this is one of those games he's got to make a big impact, one of the veteran leaders of this team. So it's not a bad prop game here either in this one. Matt, what do you like here? Ducks, Flames.
Yeah, I do like the Flames team total over 3.5. I may wait a few minutes, see if that price increases. I'm seeing it like plus 110, plus 115. If it gets to like plus 130, I may jump on that. This is another one. It'll be sort of late in the night. We'll see how the night's kind of pacing. A lot of times I like how the 4 and 5 o'clock games kind of lead into the night games. It kind of gives you, there's obviously no true rhyme or reason, but in my head, it makes you feel, oh, tonight's going to be an overnight or an undernight. Sometimes there are those trends. So not one that's like huge circled on my must watch, but by this point in the night, we'll see what we're feeling. But I lean Calgary here. I don't want to lay minus 160. I think they can get to 4 goals, especially at home. So that'll probably be my only look, but I'll probably look at it into that first period.
Yeah, this is actually one of the games I'm excited to watch because Anaheim's playing hard. Calgary needs the points. So actually, you know what? To be honest with you, out of the late slate, the 4 games, LA, Utah on down, this is probably the game I'll be watching the most, Anaheim and Calgary, just because it's so important here for the Flames as far as their playoff potential is concerned. All right, Winnipeg, Vegas. Vegas, minus 150 home favorites in this game, 5.5 the total. This has gone up, by the way. This was minus 120, minus 130. On Vegas, it's now minus 150, and the reason is no Hellebuck tonight. It's always, anytime Connor Hellebuck is not announced as the starter, and Eric Comrie is, then they are definitely going to Eric Comrie, and you can tell that betting markets always respond and fade Winnipeg when Eric Comrie is in the lineup. I do want to mention and sign off on what Jonathan's saying about Sam Colangelo for Anaheim. He's actually, I think, started to heat up again. I think goals in back-to-back games for him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 games in a row with a goal, pretty good price. So, yeah, Sam Colangelo goal prop. I do like that for Anaheim in that game. Getting back to this one, like I said, Comrie and net. Winnipeg, they got to dial it up a little bit. Dallas is right on their keister, 4 points back for first in the Central. But, with Scotty Arneal saying, let's go with Eric Comrie tonight on what is not a back-to-back. They don't play tomorrow. It makes you wonder just how, do they care about winning the division suddenly? Where's Winnipeg at as far as that's concerned? Because, right now, they don't look like they're going full throttle to wrap up this Central Division. And, of course, we saw them fall flat to L.A. The other night, losing 4-1 to the L.A. Kings. We'll see how this one plays out. But, like I said, Vegas, the problem with Vegas is, they've kind of been up and down a little bit. They're coming off a loss against Edmonton in their last game. And they've got some injuries that they're mindful of right now. Are they going to go full bore the rest of the way? This is a team that's without Hurdle and without Pietrangelo, two of their bigger pieces. Aiden Hill, by the way, will be in net for them. I mean, I'd bet Vegas before I bet Winnipeg in this spot. But like I said, with Eric Comrie in net, he's capable. I think people are a little too harsh sometimes on Comrie. He's not that bad. He's had some good starts. He gave up just one goal in a win against Seattle, one goal in a win against Philadelphia, only gave up 2 against Nashville. They beat St. Louis. He gave up 3 goals, but they won 4-3. Now, his last start was not good. I remember that start, the Buffalo game, where he started on that Sunday afternoon. He was not good because Winnipeg probably should have won that game. But he gave up 4 goals on 16 shots, and they lost 5-3 to the Sabres. He does need to play better than that if Winnipeg's going to win tonight. But yeah, this is a game right now where I'm passing. This is a betcast game for me here with Winnipeg and Vegas. Alex, what do you think here? Jets, Golden Knights.
Yeah, let's keep in mind Comrie has been the beneficiary of a very good Winnipeg team throughout the entire season. That's important to note as well.
Good defensive team, and that does help him. Yes.
And holding Nashville and Philly to 2 goals or fewer is not really the
and a light schedule. Buffalo, Nashville, Philly. Yeah.
So, but that being said, this is like I said, great betcast game. I don't want to take a shot with either one of these teams right now. This is one where I just want to wait and see how things play out. Draw prices aren't even that great. I'm seeing plus 320, plus 340. It's maybe a game that finds its way to overtime. Not necessarily where it's up and down and it's 5-5, but it could find its way to maybe going a little bit past regulation. So it's a good one to watch late. And we'll be up for this one, but like I said, nothing pregame.
Yeah, favorite prop. There are some props I like. I like Dorofeev. I like Nick Waugh starting to heat up for the Anaheim or not the Anaheim Ducks, the Vegas Golden Knights. So keep that in mind. They've been obviously very good for them of late. Close shave Barbashev. I think he might be worth a shot. And then on the Winnipeg side, Iafallo, there's still value with him on the top line, even though he hasn't clicked yet with Scheifele and with Connor. Mason Appleton with Ehlers and Lowry. I think, and even Lowry, the captain, might have some value playing on the second line. And you got to go to Cole Perfetti, too. Cole Perfetti has scored in back-to-back games here for the Winnipeg Jets. You're getting them at around plus 400. Pretty solid price. Scott says Morrissey scored in the last game against Vegas. Yeah, and he shoots the puck, so I don't mind that. Josh Morrissey for Winnipeg either for a goal prop shot. Matt, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Vegas. I know you're a Vegas fan. You hate Vegas, and yet here you are tonight. You got to actually stomach cheering for the Vegas Golden Knights because you need them to do you a solid and help out your Dallas Stars to give them a chance to win the division and catch Winnipeg. That's what this world has come to. Matt Robinson has to cheer for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he despises that city. Not that city, but he despises that team.
Yeah, it's very rare for me to be a Vegas Golden Knights fan, but tonight I think I lean Vegas. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to lay money on them minus 150. Winnipeg's a very capable team of winning on the road. The Comrie angle does help. I put it in the chat, but to your point, maybe Winnipeg, they've got the motivation from last year after, rolling and then getting just a horrible series against the Avalanche. Maybe their thought process is, hey, we want to roll into the playoffs against a good team, have a good first round, and kind of get redemption for last year's playoffs. So maybe they and I did see someone make a comment. I think 100% their priority maybe even over first seed in the West. Top spot, whatever is having Hellebuck fresh come playoff time, because he's a big difference maker. When he's on, that team can beat anybody. When he's off, they're a beatable team. So I would think they'd want home ice through the playoffs, but maybe their thought process is that's priority one. They've got some guys banged up. Maybe they kind of just coast into that second seed, and then prepare for a series against Colorado. As a Stars fan, I'd be okay with that. That wouldn't hurt my feelings. But yeah, so I don't know. I do think Vegas is a better home team. I've said it before. I'm usually pretty anti-Vegas, especially when they're on the road, especially on the East Coast. But they are a pretty good team at T-Mobile Arena. So I would lean Vegas here. I'm not going to take them at -150. And then as far as like live betting, I think this is a game that I want to watch. And so, I could be on a first period over if there's some pace and it's, a couple minutes go by. I think it's a great live betting game because it's a game that I'm interested in watching. So I'll just stay off it for the pregame.
Yeah, this is the game that's next in line after Anaheim Calgary. Of the 4 late games, this one's my second in the intrigue list after Anaheim Calgary. This definitely does have meaning. Vegas is obviously they're still trying to cement first. They haven't totally put away LA yet, but they can take a step forward in the Pacific. And Dallas has now renewed hope to try to catch Winnipeg in the Central. So it's a big game. It's a meaningful game for both teams still, and obviously 2 very good teams. So,
which would be, this is the last call to grab Dallas. I know, like I said, it was +210 the other day at Caesars, +190, +180. If you like them to maybe make that run and grab the Central, now would be the time to grab that, because certainly those 2-to-1s won't be around if Winnipeg should lose his games, and certainly regulation.
And as great a season as the Jets have had, there's a good stat there. The Jets 18-6 as a road favorite. So when they're on the road and favored and expected to beat the teams, they do. But 4-8 as a road underdog, which is the role that Winnipeg's in here. So when they play the better teams on the road, not nearly as successful, the Winnipeg Jets. So bear that in mind. All right, final game of this Thursday card, Edmonton and San Jose. Oilers -310, road favorite, 6.5 the total. This is a ESPN Plus game in the late night hours. And my gosh, they gave Cassie Campbell-Pascal another Sharks game. I mean, what's she done to deserve this? Like the Pet Shop Boys song, what have I done to deserve this? Yeah, that's exactly what she's thinking right now. Another San Jose game. But nevertheless, I'll say this actually could be very entertaining. For Edmonton, they got Leon Draisaitl back, 2-0 with Leon Draisaitl back. They beat Calgary in overtime. They beat Vegas 3-2 the other night in that game. We'll see how they fare here in this one. It just feels like it's a sleepy spot waiting to happen for Edmonton. After the big win against Vegas, it could be. And San Jose gets up to play good teams at home. This game, don't be shocked if we're on the Betcast tonight watching this game late night, and we're seeing Toronto versus San Jose all over again. You remember that Leafs versus Sharks game recently in San Jose? It was just a pretty crazy game, back and forth. San Jose played their hearts out, pushed a really good Leafs team. In fact, the Leafs needed to score twice in the final minute to get that game to overtime. And then, of course, the Sharks won it in a shootout. And it was kind of back and forth. Lots of goals in that game. That's kind of what I think this could be. This could be one of those pond hockey up and down affairs. And I'm going to take a shot that I'm going to have the game script nailed in this game, that I think it's going to play out just the way, as I mentioned now, that I think it's going to. So I'm going to go with San Jose goal in the first period. They've been good at that lately, getting on the board early. It's a -138 price, San Jose to score in the first period. I'm on San Jose, not the money line, but the team total over 2.5 at +100. Plus Pickard's in net again with Skinner still injured. And obviously McDavid and Ekholm are still out for Edmonton. It's going to be Pickard again, who is really good against Vegas. But how many times have we seen him have a really great start, and then the next game there's a fall off and there's a decline from Pickard? This could be it. So I think the Sharks to score in the first, their team total over 2.5 is worth a look. But the problem for San Jose is defensively they are gutted. They are banged up and beleaguered defensively. Multiple blue liners out. Jan Ruda, Vincent Desharnais, Shakir Makhmadoulan, the young kid, he got injured the last game, and he's out due to injury as well. That is already a blue line that is not great when they're at full strength. And now they got multiple blue liners out. And look what San Jose is. Look what's happened to them defensively the last 4 games. All 4 games, by the way, went over the total. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, all 4 games went over in the first period as well. They did. So it's a 4-0 first period, 4-0 full game over run for San Jose. They gave up 5 to Toronto, 6 to the Rangers, 8 to the LA Kings, and then 4 to Anaheim the other night. So this is just 6-5 Edmonton or 6-5 San Jose type of game. To me, this is Toronto, San Jose, the sequel. That's really the way I see it. So I'm going to go with the Sharks to score in the first, -138. Sharks team total over 2.5, +100. First period over 1.5. First period over 6, or full game over 6.5. Now the prices are a little expensive on those two. Could always wait to the betcast to get on them during the betcast, but I think it's probably a goals bonanza here. And I know there's no McDavid, but how many times, they got Leon, and as long as they have Leon Draisaitl, Edmonton's going to be able to score goals against one of the weaker blue lines that exist right now in the NHL. So I think it's a goals bonanza here, and San Jose chips in as well in this game and pushes Edmonton at the very least. I don't know about win, but pushes Edmonton here tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Final game, Oilers, Sharks.
Yeah, I get where you see goals coming in bunches, and especially when you look at San Jose, like I said, the defense is depleted, and also you're going with Romanov, Georgie Vaca, as I like to call him, in that his numbers have been awful, and he's just looked positionally out of sorts. And so this is a game where I'm looking for the live betcast. We see it 2 +118 at BetMGM. Reminds me of the old days of the first period over. So that's how this whole thing started with the betcast. We were waiting for those 2s to go down to 1.5s and try and get 140, 150. So that's the way I'm going to try and approach that. Same thing with the total 6.5. Try and grab that 2 and over 6. But we will play goal in first 5 minutes +140. Should we not be able to grab better numbers with those over by factor? But this is a good live game. Like I said, all the late games tonight are set up to be some pretty good live wagering spots.
Yeah, apparently there's a Maze Music and Matt Robinson connection. I didn't know that, but there we go in the chat. But then I saw the name Ian, and I thought it was me for a minute, but no, they're talking about someone else. Matt, what do you think here? Edmonton, San Jose.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth in the chat with him before, because he used to live in Reno, and then, long story short, his brother's wife is a teacher with my girlfriend. They work at the same school, so very small world connection. And his brother's a firefighter here, so
yep.
I got him some tickets when we played FDNY. So yeah, very small world, pretty awesome stuff. So yeah, as far as this game goes, I think this is a good spot for a Matty Rob special. First period over 1.5, full game over 5.5. And then, as Alex mentioned, I think this is a good live betting spot. If there's some pace to it, I could see this being like a 5-3, 6-4 type game. San Jose chips in with a couple goals. Edmonton kind of lights it up, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that's it pregame. Obviously, I lean Edmonton. I'm not going to lay -310. You could make a case for San Jose. They're going to win a game here and there. So, but I think at this point in the year, I think they're big guns. The big guns they have, I should say, young guns, are getting a little tired. So they just haven't looked the same. So, yeah, I'll just take the first period full game over 5.5, and then look for some live action as well.
Yeah. It reminds me of that old song, "Hey there, Georgie girl." Guess who's been announced as the San Jose as the San Jose goalie tonight? The one guy that might actually be worse than Georgiev, Georgi Romanov, is going to start tonight for the San Jose Sharks. You mean you don't love seeing that 4.97 goals against average? And if you don't like seeing that, maybe you'll take to that 829 save percentage instead. My goodness. Wow. So yeah, that's another reason why the over stuck out to me. Now, in fairness, in that 8-goal shellacking when he was in net against LA on Sunday night, they hung him out to dry. They were awful in front of him, but it's still been rough for Georgi Romanov here in the few starts that he's gotten. with San Jose. So, like I said, definitely feels like certainly Edmonton can find the back of the net, but don't be shocked if San Jose returns fire in that game. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We will return fire with you tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Patreon exclusive, live betcast. We cannot wait. Looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a great night of hockey and a great night of winning bets. So make sure you join us. If you're not a Patreon member, make sure you sign up right now so you're there with us tonight for the live betcast. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys, along with access to the live betcast tonight and the 2 Patreon live betcasts exclusive to Patreon next week, Tuesday and Thursday. You'll get, of course, goalie charts, totals charts, all the bonus content, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Live chat room, live betting chat room that you can interact with your fellow Patreon Ice Guys members, all that and more, and access to the live betcast tonight and the 2 next week, and all the live betcasts exclusive to Patreon the rest of the season. Get on board. Your $10 per month subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. So make sure you sign up. Be there tonight for the betcast. $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys.
Yeah, as I say, between the 3 betcasts over the next 7 days, the goalie charts that will be posted up later tonight, Chris Otto's charts. This is the time to sign up if you've never signed up before. Definitely take advantage of all that we're offering right now. But
Playoff
also
betcasts. Yep, lots of them coming.
Playoff betcasts coming as well too. So this is a great time, great month to sign up, but also a great time to check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today's the first of 5 days where you can save 20% off in the store. I told you we have a special every day during the month of April. 5 days. Now you have 20% off. Just hit on the redeem button at the homepage, add everything to your cart. 20% will be taken out at checkout. We've got just about everything in stock right now with a bunch of new designs as well. Here's the new Ice Guys Corvitas t-shirt. Mine just arrived yesterday. So definitely check that one out. Save 20% off for the next 5 days. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There you go. Next 5 days, take advantage of that. iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Ian, I got to tell you about this app I've been using lately called Kalshi. Kalshi.com. Did you know it's the only place where you can trade on March Madness in all 50 U.S. states?
I have heard about this, actually. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market that lets you trade on real-world events with the look and feel of stock trading, whether it's who will win elections, who will win the Grammy or Oscar awards, or what the price of Bitcoin will hit this year. You can bet you trade on just about anything on Kalshi.
With over 1 million users across all 50 states and over $1 billion worth of trades, Kalshi is an absolute game changer. And with March Madness coming to a close, baseball about to get in the full swing, playoffs on the horizon in hockey and basketball, now's the time to sign up to trade with Kalshi today.
Sign up at kalshi.com/iceguys, and the first 500 traders to join and trade 100 contracts, you will get a free $10 credit added to your account. So don't miss out on all the action. Join Kalshi today at kalshi.com/iceguys. That's kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com and kalshi.com/IceGuys trading platform. And it's not just sports, entertainment, crypto, politics, stocks, you name it, everything there. kalshi.com/IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Huge card. Really good night for the bargain bin. There's a lot of choices. This was a tough card to narrow down to just 2 bargain bin selections, but I do have 2 for you. Alex, though, we'll start with you. Bargain bin special.
I just got the one. We'll go with that Ottawa-Tampa Bay game, and I kind of tipped my hand to it a little bit earlier, and I talked about looking at milestone props and different markers. Like I said, Jake Gensel, he's got 38 goals, 2 away from 40. I like him to keep on his hot streak and get 2 goals here tonight. Plus 1,200 at FanDuel is the price you get for that. So we're going Jake Gensel. It's a big game for Tampa Bay. Like them to get the win here as well, but we'll go Jake Gensel, 2 goals or more. Plus 1,200. That is my bargain bin special for this Betcast Thursday.
There you go. Going for the big price. Jake Gensel over 1.5 goals, 2+ goals, plus 1,200 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. Matty Robb, best bargain bin special. What do you like?
Yeah, so I mentioned I did have some props in Big D. This is a guy that's a former Nashville Predator. He only has 6 points in his 6 games against him since becoming a Dallas Star, but it seems like he usually pops a few. I'm going to go with Matt Duchene over 1.5 points. He had 5 shots in the game on Monday night in Seattle. He gets a lot of power play opportunity on that second unit. That line's been buzzing. Marchman's been chipping in. As you mentioned, Marchman, Granlund, both on 3-game point streaks as well. If it is, a lighted up Dallas type night, where they score 5 or 6 goals, why not Duchene to have 2 points? So Matt Duchene over 1.5 points. I'm seeing it like right around plus 300, 320, depending on the book. And that'll be my bargain bin for tonight.
Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene over 1.5 points, plus 300, plus 320 in that range for bargain bin special tonight. I got 2 bargain bin specials. Tonight's the night to use him as a bargain bin special choice. All Reliable. I mentioned him as All Reliable earlier in the show. Nick Paul for the Tampa Bay Lightning, plus 390. I like this price quite a bit. It's a Nick Paul night. I think he finds the back of the net for Tampa Bay against the Ottawa Senators. And then the other one that I chose, he's been playing great for the Winnipeg Jets. Back-to-back games with a goal. The price is great. Cole Perfetti, plus 430 for the Winnipeg Jets. Back-to-back games with a goal, looking to make it 3 straight games, finding the back of the net. So there you go. 2 bargain bin specials. Nick Paul, plus 390, Tampa Bay. Cole Perfetti, plus 430 for Winnipeg for bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets for this Thursday. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Let's head up to La Belle Provence. We got Boston taking on Montreal, and it's been the hottest trend rolling right now. 11-1 to the first period over for the Habs. We will go right back to that. You can get minus $1.15 to over 1.5 at both MGM and Caesars. So we'll go with Boston, Montreal, first period over. It's a Thursday best bet.
All right, Boston, Montreal, over 1.5 first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Matt, best bet.
Yeah, my best bet is going to be Tampa Bay, Ottawa, first period over. Series history shows that it's been there. Both teams trending in the right direction as far as first period overs go. There's, a couple Tampa Bay props that we like tonight in the bargain bin, as well as the overall game. So just need 2 in the first, doesn't matter by who. Tampa Bay, Ottawa, first period over. That's my best bet.
There you go. Tampa Bay, Ottawa, over 1.5 first period. Best bet for Matt Robinson. My best bet for this card, I'm going with a side for a change. And to me, this is just a great spot. Colorado, brutal travel situation. Had to leave Chicago this morning. Travel day of the game, morning of the game to Columbus. That's brutal. It's a huge game for Columbus. Colorado can't move up or down. I think the Jackets take advantage. Columbus plus 120 against Colorado for my best bet for this Thursday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. The betcast is tonight. We're looking forward to it. We cannot wait for it. And as you see on the screen, we've got not one, not two, but 3 Patreon exclusive live betcasts in the next week. Tonight, next Tuesday, April 8th, and next Thursday, April 10th. So make sure you get on board. If you want to be part of these great betcasts, they're so much fun. We appreciate you joining us. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month. And again, you will be you won't regret it, because these betcasts are a lot of fun, and we do pretty well with them often as far as the live wagering action. So make sure you get on board. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month right before to join for the betcast. You'll see me, Alex, Matt. We'll all be there tonight. A lot of our viewers and listeners in the chat as well. Looking forward to it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. No Alex on the show tomorrow, but Perlo will be filling in, it looks like, for Alex. So him and Perlo and I on the Friday edition. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. We'll see you in a few hours for the Patreon exclusive live betcast, and back again for the Friday edition of the Ice Guys at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, right here on the Ice Guys.